So, here is my review for Elevator Pitch by Linwood Barclay. I absolutely love this book. I gave it a 5-star review. It was one that if you'd seen my vlogs, I said I wasn't sure if I was getting into it as much as usual, but I did eventually, and oh my god, it was amazing, fantastic book. So, standard format, 3 pros, 3 cons. Start with the con so I can end on a pro. And the first con that I had with the book is, as I said, I struggled to get into it at the start, and the reason is that everything that was happening in the first probably half of the book was in the blurb. The blurb says, on Monday, an elevator rises to the top, stops, and then crashes. And then on Tuesday, another one crashes. And then Wednesday, something tragic happens, leading up to a Friday night showdown. Now, the first half of the book was Monday and Tuesday, and I think a bit of Wednesday. But that's what happened. The elevator rose, it stopped, it dropped. And that was pretty much all of the action in the book. And it was literally the blurb just retold and expanded with more detail, but it was still just the blurb. And there was no new information, there was nothing exciting. It got bit by bit more exciting, but as I started reading it, I was just like, I know that this is happening. Nothing else is thrilling me here and making me want to read. So that was my first con of the book. Eventually, that changed. A lot of things happened that weren't in the blurb. It expanded, it got so much better. So don't really give up on this book because you know what's going to happen based on the blurb. Everything changes, and it was fantastic. Now, my first pro is that the amount of twists in this book was amazing. I love a good twist. I love a good few twists. I don't just like it when there's one twist, because if I guess the twist, it's done. Whereas with Linwood Barclay, he is such a good author. He is amazing. Every book I've read, he never does just like one twist. He always does about 4. And he's the master of twists and turns when it comes to the books. And this was no exception. It was amazing. Obviously, I won't reveal the twists, but the amount of twists were amazing, and the quality of the twists. You never knew what was going to happen. You never know whether anything you know is true. And when you find out what the twist is, you just stand there and you're like, oh. And it just changes everything that you thought you knew, and it is great. And I absolutely loved it. I lived for it. It was amazing. Gushing about it. Right, now my second con is that Linwood Barclay typically writes the book in one-person narrative. And typically, which is why I absolutely love him, he does it in a way where it's not the main character. We have a character that is experiencing something, they're going through something, but the character we follow, it tends to be like a side character. Like in one book in particular, it's the husband of the character or the father of the character. So we learn things when he learns things, and it's like we're taking a side character's journey with them whilst everything's happening to the main character, and I love that. It's such a unique concept. I think it's so fun. So when I got this book, I was thinking, oh, whose perspective is this going to take? What's going to happen? It was really, I couldn't wait. And that didn't happen. It was just multiple characters. Everything, there was a journalist, there was the mayor, there was the mayor's son, the journalist's daughter, 2 police detectives, the victims. It was just so many narratives all at once. It was just difficult to navigate. Like, I don't mind a multi-narrative thing, and it wasn't an issue, and I found it easy enough to understand. It's just when I'd come to expect Linwood Barclay to write in a particular way from one perspective of a side character, doing it this way was just different. So it just kind of took me back a little bit, and I had to stop and was like, oh, okay, this is how it's going to be now. And it just gave me a bit of pause, but it didn't devalue anything about the book. It was just because I expected something different, my expectations changed. And I think moving on to the second pro, that being said, as I said, the the characters were so well developed. They were great characters. They had so much life and so much character. You could believe that these were real people. You believe their story and their motivation and their relationships with other characters. The way each character was developed is great, because it happens sometimes with multi-perspective narratives that the quality of certain characters don't really get developed that much because the author spent so much time writing these characters in that you don't really learn much about them. Whereas with Linwood Barclay writing it this way, he put everything. You knew every single aspect of this character's life. Anything that you didn't know, you learnt about. Anything you didn't know, you could guess about, because he wrote it so well that it was obvious that that's what the character was like, because they'd been through this and they'd been through this, and you understood everything. So it was so well written. Absolutely loved it. And like I said, it was great just to see all of these characters, despite the fact that I said it was a con that these characters were there. Seeing all of these characters and all of their motivations and all of their perspectives on events, amazing. Absolutely loved it. Okay, my last con is just a bit petty and a bit ridiculous, but I couldn't think of another con. I really love the book. After my slow start, it gained momentum and I fell in love with the book. So I couldn't think of another con. So this one is just the small one. Is that the showdown was meant to happen on Friday night and it happened on Thursday. And that is just something so small. I know it's so petty, but it actually does annoy me. Like, you can't write that something's leading to a deadly Friday night showdown and then have it happen on a Thursday. That's just daft, because it's obvious that that's... Like, you wrote the book, you know what you're doing. It says Thursday, and then it moves on to Friday. And then you just write, oh yes, this happened on Friday, but it didn't, did it? It's so small and so petty, but I am petty. That small bit of information that was wrong angers me so much. So, that was quite funny. Moving on to my last pro, the ending was amazing. I know I say in every single review I do, I'm all for endings. I'm a big fan of an ending. And this ending was so good for so many reasons. It didn't wrap everything up in a neat little bow. It wasn't perfect. It just... When I say it wasn't perfect, I mean it wasn't perfect in the way of everyone lived happily ever after. It was bittersweet and poetic. The ending happened in such a way where, because of what you knew about the story and because of the characters and things like that, it became kind of clear that it was so poetic that that was how it was done, and you had it clear that this ending had been planned out from the start. And it's hard to talk about the ending, obviously, because I don't want to ruin anything, so I can't really talk about it that much. But my big pro of the book, the ending was so bittersweet and poetic, and it made me just sit and think there was no other way that this book could end, and it was great. So overall, they are my 3 pros, 3 cons of the book, and as I said, I gave this 5 stars. So the cons, I said, they're not really cons, they weren't life-changing. There was just small things that I wasn't the biggest fan of with the book, but it clearly didn't devalue the book itself or the quality of the writing, because I absolutely loved it. Fantastic reading experience. So, amazing. So, that is my review for Elevator Pitch by Linwood Barclay. Thank you so much for watching. I post every Monday, Wednesday and Saturday, and until next time, see you later.